Alright, so imagine this. You're at a political event, flashing lights, applause, Charlie Kirk on stage doing his usual Save America sermon, and then boom, chaos, screams, and one guy just calmly walks away. Now that'd already be weird enough, right? Except this isn't a movie, it's real footage. And Candace Owens, she just dropped a truth grenade on it. Yep, she's accusing Turning Point USA, her own crew, of running psychological warfare on their own followers. You can't make this up. It's part murder mystery, part church drama, and part who forgot to turn off the live stream energy. So buckle up, because this story's got more twists than a QAnon Reddit thread and more shade than a Mar-a-Lago umbrella. Let's break down the facts that turned this from tragedy into pure political theater. The clip that sparked it all. So here's the moment that broke the internet. The clip. Picture it. A packed event hall. Charlie Kirk on stage doing his signature Save the Republic monologue. Phones out. Flags waving. Audience hyped like it's a MAGA Coachella. Then, crack. A single shot slices through the air. Now you'd expect panic, right? Security diving, people screaming, maybe even a dramatic slow motion fall. But instead, we get the calm man walking. Mike McCoy, Charlie's right-hand guy, doesn't duck, doesn't check, doesn't even blink. He turns around, lifts his phone like he's answering a spam call from Verizon, and strolls off like brunch reservations wait for no man. Candace Owens paused the frame mid-stride, zoomed in like a detective in a true crime doc, and said, "Right there, that's not shock, that's choreography." And the audience? You could feel the oxygen leave the room. Everyone had the same thought. Wait, did he just casually exit a live shooting? The video went viral faster than a TikTok conspiracy. Threads exploded, body language experts came out of retirement. Half of Twitter was playing FBI analyst, while the other half was playing denial bingo, and Candace, she went all in. She slowed the footage down frame by frame, breaking it down like it was the Zapruder film. Look, the shot fires. Look, Charlie hasn't even fallen yet. Look, Mike's already turning away, phone to his ear. No flinch, no confusion, just motion. It wasn't a reaction. It was muscle memory. Then she dropped the line that sent chills through every viewer's spine. He didn't check on Charlie because he didn't need to. He already knew what was coming. Boom. Instant wildfire. Within minutes, hashtags started trending. Hash the calm man. Hash McCoy mystery. Hash Charlie's clipgate. And the wild part, nobody from Turning Point jumped in to clarify. Not one. Because what could they say? The footage was right there. No editing tricks, no deep fakes. Just unsettlingly calm behavior caught on tape. Candace described it like watching someone walk off stage after nailing their cue. It wasn't fear, it was familiarity. And that's what freaked people out the most. Not the shot, not the chaos, but that eerie, deliberate calm from the one man who should have been losing his mind. Candace's breakdown turned what could have been dismissed as internet rumor into a full-blown national debate. Was Mike McCoy just frozen? Was he following orders? Or was he part of something much darker? By the time she wrapped the segment, the internet wasn't asking what happened anymore. They were asking who knew. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get more suspicious, enter the pastor. Because when dad steps into the chat and the first thing he does is lie, you know this story's about to graduate from weird to straight up biblical. The pastor's lie. The moment the video went viral, the internet wanted answers. And somehow, all eyes landed on one man, Pastor McCoy, Mike's father, a man of faith, integrity, and calm. Or so everyone thought. When he finally spoke, it wasn't truth that came out. It was theater. With a straight face, he told the world his son was covered in blood. Covered in blood. The internet paused. Candace Owens replayed the footage, zoomed in frame by frame, and there it was. Nothing. Not a drop on Mike's hands, not a stain on his shirt, not even a hint of red. The man looked cleaner than the communion table on Sunday morning. That's when people started to whisper, why lie about something that obvious? Then the story started shifting. One day, the pastor claimed Mike had rushed to help medics. The next, he said his son called him right after the shooting. And somehow, both were true. It was the kind of contradiction that didn't sound like confusion. It sounded like a cover story rehearsed too many times. Candace called it out live, cutting through the spin like a blade. You don't misremember blood. Either it's there or it's not. That was the moment everything cracked. The internet realized this wasn't just a grieving father misspeaking. It looked like a cleanup job. A coordinated attempt to make Mike look like a victim, not a suspect. Because when every version of the story paints him in sympathy instead of suspicion, that's not faith. That's PR. are. Candace doubled down. She replayed the video again, pointing out the spotless clothes, the calm demeanor, the total lack of panic, and then she dropped the line that went nuclear. If your son's covered in blood, Pastor, why is his shirt cleaner than your conscience? Boom. The crowd exploded, and within hours, Pastor Lies was trending worldwide. But underneath the jokes and memes, the story got darker, because if the pastor's lying, who's left to trust? Was he shielding his son, or serving someone higher up? Faith leaders started weighing in, journalists began dissecting timelines, and through it all, Turning Point USA stayed silent. No denials, no corrections, just silence. And silence in this story was louder than confession. By the end of it, the question hanging over everyone wasn't just about Mike, it was about the pastor himself. How far would a man of God go to protect his son or his status? And if you thought the lies were bad, wait until you hear how fast Mike moved, because between the gunshot and his calm stroll out the door, we're talking less than 1 second, and that's not human instinct, that's premeditated. The phone call, excuse, it all began with a video that should have been clear, simple, undeniable, but instead turned into one of the strangest puzzles the internet's ever dissected frame by frame. The clip showed Mike McCoy, Charlie Kirk's chief of staff, standing only feet away when the gun went off. In the chaos that followed, the gasps, the confusion, the scramble, Mike didn't flinch, didn't duck, didn't even glance toward his friend. He just turned, calmly, raised a phone to his ear, and walked away as if taking a business call on a lazy afternoon. When that footage hit social media, people demanded answers, and that's when a news story appeared. Slick, rehearsed, and strangely convenient. The explanation was simple, they said. He was on the phone, apparently right after the shooting, before anyone could even scream. Mike's first instinct was to make a call, not to help, not to check, to call. It sounded absurd, and yet it spread like wildfire. Some said he was calling Erica Kirk per Charlie's emergency instructions. Others claimed he was phoning his father, the same pastor whose covered in blood story had already fallen apart. Still others insisted he wasn't calling anyone at all. He was filming social media clips for Turning Point USA. 3 versions, 1 timeline, none of them fitting together. Candace Owens saw through it instantly. On her show, she replayed the footage in slow motion, voice sharp and biting. We're supposed to believe a man hears a gunshot, doesn't react, doesn't move, just calmly dials a number. What was that? Hey Siri, call my alibi? The crowd laughed, but the truth underneath was unnerving, because science didn't back it up. From the gunshot to the moment Mike raised his phone was 800 milliseconds, less than a single second, faster than human reflex, too fast to be shock. That's not reaction, Candace said, that's choreography. And suddenly, everyone could see it. The smoothness, the precision, the eerie calm. If it wasn't instinct, it was preparation. Then came the obvious question, where are the phone records? If the call was real, it would take 1 screenshot to end the speculation. But no one ever produced one. Instead, Turning Point USA sent out spokespeople and consultants, all talking around Mike, never with him. Candace tore into that too. If you've got nothing to hide, she said, you don't need a spokesperson, you need a phone bill. That line hit the internet like a thunderclap. The hashtag #Callgate was born. Reddit threads, TikTok theories, ex-security experts analyzing frame rates like it was the Zapruder film. But through it all, Mike McCoy stayed silent, unseen, untouched, unreachable. It was almost poetic. The man accused of making the call never called back. And while the world argued over milliseconds and motives, one thing became clear. The phone wasn't a defense. It was a prop, a convenient distraction that made chaos look composed. But if the phone call was their cover story, the next revelation ripped that cover wide open. Because what came next didn't come from a video. It came from a document. Or more accurately, the 3 that mysteriously disappeared. And those missing drafts. They didn't just vanish, they left behind fingerprints that told a story no one was ready to hear. The silence of Mikey McCoy. By now, the noise around Charlie Kirk's case was deafening. Pastors preaching, pundits arguing, and Twitter detectives piecing together conspiracy corkboards. But right in the middle of the chaos, the one man everyone wanted to hear from, Mike McCoy, was silent. Not taking a break silent, erased silent. No interviews, no posts, no public sightings. It was like he'd been photoshopped out of his own life. Turning Point USA brushed it off with the same polished line, Mike is focusing on faith and family. But everyone heard the subtext. context. Don't ask questions. Of course, the internet did the opposite. People tore through his digital footprint, old church videos, LinkedIn pages, even flight logs. That's when rumors surfaced of a blurry photo at a Phoenix airport. A man in a baseball cap with what looked like private security. Was it him? No one could say. But silence is gasoline on the rumor fire, and this blaze was unstoppable. Candace Owens lit the match on her show, staring dead into the camera. Silence isn't peace, it's strategy. When someone accused of nothing disappears like someone guilty of everything, that's not privacy, that's panic. Then came leaks. Messages allegedly showed TPUSA staff were told to scrub mentions of McCoy and reroute all media requests to senior comms. Even his church pulled every sermon, every video. Gone overnight. Like someone wasn't protecting him, they were deleting him. Candace called it a digital exorcism, and she nailed it. Because by now, the story wasn't about what Mike said, it was about what he didn't. Every day he stayed quiet, his silence got louder. The less he spoke, the more the internet spoke for him. And in that vacuum, people started writing their own version of the truth. But if McCoy's silence was deafening, the next revelation was explosive. Because what finally broke it wasn't a statement or confession, it was a camera. And what that deleted security footage captured spoke volumes. The TPUSA damage control. The moment Candace Owens went public with her expose, everything changed. 1 minute, the internet was buzzing with theories. The next, Turning Point USA went eerily quiet. Not the calm kind of quiet, the calculated kind. Within 48 hours, the organization pulled what insiders later called containment mode. Emails flew out, talking points circulated, and suddenly it was as if the name Mike McCoy had been scrubbed from everyone's vocabulary. Officially, TPUSA's statement was harmless, a single, sterile line asking for prayers and privacy. But behind the curtain, things were moving fast. Staffers lost access to social accounts, posts were wiped clean, and videos showing the incident mysteriously vanished under copyright strikes. Even fan uploads were being flagged. Coincidence? Not a chance. The timing was too perfect, like someone had pressed a panic button. Then came the rebranding. TPUSA didn't try to explain what happened, they tried to redirect it. Overnight, the narrative shifted from what happened to Charlie Kirk to, why are you being so cruel to people of faith? It was emotional manipulation 101. Dress silence up as dignity, and suddenly, skepticism looks heartless. Candace saw right through it. On her next live stream, she smirked and said, they're not protecting the truth, they're managing the outrage. And she wasn't exaggerating. A leaked internal memo reportedly showed TPUSA's crisis team instructing members to minimize footage circulation and redirect the narrative toward unity and resilience. Corporate speak for, shut up, smile, and scroll on. Behind the scenes, staff whispered about no paper trail meetings, deleted Slack logs, and hushed instructions not to engage with anyone mentioning McCoy. It didn't look like damage control anymore. It looked like memory control. To make matters worse, TPUSA rolled out a wave of pre-approved voices, influencers, pastors, even military commentators, all parroting the same lines about misinformation and respect for privacy. But the internet isn't stupid. Every time someone said misinformation, viewers heard cover up. And then, the final PR misfire. Within 24 hours, several official TPUSA accounts posted the exact same caption, faith over fear, truth in time. The audience saw right through it. Commenters mocked the posts, calling it the copy-paste crusade. One reply summed it up perfectly. If it's faith over fear, why are you so afraid of questions? By then, it was over. The operation meant to clean up the narrative only confirmed there was a narrative to clean up. Candace ended her segment with a line that felt like a closing statement in court. If they have to manage the truth, it's not truth anymore. It's PR. That's when the tone shifted for good. What started as a tragedy had now become a corporate thriller. Faith, money, image, and silence colliding in one surreal spectacle. And as hashtags like #TPUSA cover up and #faith or facade lit up social media, one thing was clear. The cover up was the story. Because when the truth starts sounding like a marketing campaign, you're not watching damage control, you're watching deception management. But if you thought TPUSA's lockdown was airtight, think again. Because one email, one sentence slipped through the cracks. And it didn't just reopen the case, it blew it wide open. The 800 millisecond mystery. It was the moment that froze the internet. A single second that felt like an entire movie scene. The shot rings out, the crowd jolts, and Mike McCoy, he doesn't duck, doesn't flinch, doesn't even blink. He just turns, smooth, controlled, phone to his ear, like he's clocking in for a conference call, not standing feet away from chaos. That's when people started timing it. From the gunshot to the moment his hand moves, 0.8 seconds. Not even a full heartbeat. Too fast for instinct, too calm for shock, which left everyone asking, was that reflex or rehearsal? Candace Owens wasn't having it. On her show, she pulled up the clip like a detective laying out evidence. Slow motion, zoomed in, frame by frame. Then she dropped the line that would echo across the internet. That's not fear, that's choreography. And she wasn't wrong. The movement looked intentional, measured, perfectly timed. Experts later pointed out that the human brain usually takes twice that long just to register a sound. Which means if Mike really moved that fast, he wasn't reacting, he was anticipating. Turning Point USA tried to clean it up, saying he was covering his ears because the sound was so loud, but that only made things worse. No one else in the room did that. Everyone else was diving for cover while Mike looked like he was stepping out of a meeting. Then came the twist that turned suspicion into obsession. A leaked forensic analysis claiming McCoy's hands started moving before the gunshot sound reached the mic. That's when the internet exploded. Either he's psychic, one Redditor said, or he got the script early. And just like that, the 800 millisecond mystery became a phenomenon. A debate about timing, truth, and what instinct really looks like when the world falls apart. Candace summed it up best. The human brain can't fake instinct, but PR can fake innocence. Because when you move before the chaos even hits, there are only two explanations. You're either the calmest man alive, or the one who saw it coming. The Seth Rich parallel, Candace took the scenic route through deja vu. Remember Seth Rich? She asked. The FBI said they didn't have his laptop, then they did. Then they said it'd take 65 years to read it. She stared straight at the camera. That's not justice. That's a cover-up with a deadline. Her audience went nuclear because when Candace connects dots, it's not subtle, it's an airstrike. And if that wasn't enough chaos, buckle up because she said what everyone was thinking out loud. Fact 8. The psychological operation. Candace declared, "You're watching a psyop. They're gaslighting conservatives into defending their own manipulation." Then she leaned in. It's COVID 2.0, but this time the masks are emotional. Boom. That line alone got 5 million views in under an hour. Her point? People aren't being fooled by the left anymore. They're being fooled by their own team. And if you thought she was done, wrong. Because next Candace got philosophical, and it was brutal. The loyalty trap. Some of you defend nonsense because it's easier than facing the truth, she said. That's not loyalty. That's delusion. She compared it to political addiction, needing your party's approval like Wi-Fi. The audience fell silent. Candace's tone softened, but the knife stayed sharp. They don't want thinkers, she said. They want followers. Blind, obedient, and too scared to ask why. And then, the moment that made the internet stop scrolling. The mic drop, Candace leaned forward, voice low, controlled. If you're ignoring what your eyes see just to protect powerful people, you're not part of a movement. You're part of a cover-up. Then she smiled, that calm, dangerous kind of smile, and said, "I'd rather be called crazy for asking questions than be called a coward for staying quiet." Q explosion. Comment sections went nuclear. #PsyopUSA trended worldwide. And just like that, Candace Owens didn't just challenge TPUSA. She detonated their credibility live. She wasn't a commentator anymore. She was the plot twist. Because in a world built on loyalty and lies, sometimes the loudest person in the room isn't losing her mind. She's the only one who hasn't been bought. If you're still here after all that, you're officially part of the 1% who can handle the truth without needing a trigger warning. Hit that like button, drop your take below, and subscribe, because this story, we're just getting started.